Benoit Blanc doesn't just wear nice suits, he dresses precisely for climate, movement and context. In Glass Onion, he abandons tweed for linen. He embraces the wrinkles and pairs a suit with canvas sneakers. But in Wake Up Dead Man, he returns to heavier cloth, tighter structure and a more deliberate silhouette. Today, in this video, I want to show you how his style evolves across the Knives Out sequels and what you can actually learn from it without looking like you're in costume or playing dress up. Let's start properly with Glass Onion, because this is where Benoit's approach to dressing becomes obvious. You see, Benoit Blanc dresses for the occasion, always. That's why in Glass Onion, when he's invited to the island, he doesn't go for the hopsack tweed that we saw in the original. No, too hot. So when the setting changes, the materials have to change with it. Therefore, Benoit opts for a linen suit. Now this isn't a style shift, it's the same logic applied to a different climate. So why is this the most appropriate fiber for the occasion? Well, that's because linen is extremely breathable, okay? Heat isn't gonna get trapped between your body and the garment. It's also got sort of a nice, relaxed Mediterranean feel to it. And that relaxed quality is exactly why people often, I would say, misunderstand how linen is meant to be worn. Now, if you're a man and you don't own a linen suit, but maybe you're interested in adding one to your wardrobe, I have a tip for you. Do not resist the wrinkling. Usually when men get their first linen suit, they become obsessed with ironing it to perfection so that they can wear it without wrinkles. And normally, yes, that's fair enough. Wrinkles are a fashion mistake, a fashion faux pas, okay? It signals that poor attention to detail and that you're lazy when it comes to getting your outfit together. But when it comes to linen, think of the wrinkles as a feature, not a flaw. They signal ease, okay? You're comfortable, you're relaxed, not neglect. Especially when they're paired with tailoring, okay? The suit obviously has to fit you well. But this is a great way of keeping that scholarly aesthetic by wearing a suit, but it's casual too, okay? You can wear it at the beach. Note that Benoit wears sneakers with his outfit, again, perfectly practical for walking along the beach. And that practicality carries through not just in the fabric, but in the color and the accessories as well. So the color scheme of the first outfit we see is fantastic. We've got nice contrast between the suit jacket and the shirt, which is a salmon color. But then we've also got a third color being brought in with the neckerchief, which is sky blue, and it complements Benoit's eyes perfectly. And as we'll see, the neckerchief is Benoit's way of bringing in a third complementary color and some patterns without having to use a tie like in the previous film. Later on, we see a yellow neckerchief paired with the blue striped swimwear. And then after that, the final outfit is a reversal of the original color scheme. This time we have a blue shirt and a salmon neckerchief. It's variation, but it's not random. It's the mark of a deliberate wardrobe. Now, let's take a closer look at that jacket. Not your typical suit jacket. Like I said, linen is naturally more casual and meant for warmer climates. And the jacket itself has several aspects that lean into that casual nature and make it even more casual. The tailoring itself reinforces that. We've got patch pockets, not just at the hip area. This is something you would have seen in military or hunting jackets. So it is surprising to see here, but again, it makes it more casual. All of these details, by the way, prioritize function and movement over formality. They're practical. Also note, this is a 3-button jacket. You don't see too many of these days. Now the rules when it comes to a 3-button jacket, similar to 2-button, okay? If we treat the middle button like the top button in a 2-button jacket, that always has to be done up, okay? We never do up the bottom button. The top one, the one that's been added, that's up to you. Benoit wears it in. We actually do catch a glimpse of a vent in the back of the jacket and a band across the way. And we've seen that before in one of Indiana Jones's teaching outfits. Good for freedom of movement, okay? Again, it's practical. It's academic clothing, but it's designed to move, okay? Not to sit so stiffly. Now, once you understand how Benoit dresses outdoors, the very first outfit suddenly makes a lot more sense. So chronologically speaking, one of the first outfits we see Benoit in is a dressing gown over a shirt and tie as he sits on the balcony of his apartment. And that first look already tells us something important about how Benoit Blanc dresses. He's precise about context, even indoors. But wait, is it a dressing gown? Because what we casually call a dressing gown actually covers 3 very different garments. and they're not all the same thing. So let's clear something up very quickly. When it comes to these kind of indoor robes, let's say, there are actually 3 types, and they differ in formality and intended use. First, we have the dressing gown. Think of this as an indoor overcoat. Typically reaches down beyond the knee to about mid-calf length. It's got a belted waist, like the other 2, usually a shawl collar though, okay? So it's a little bit more stylish. Arguably, this is the most stylish of the 3 robes, and therefore it's going to be made out of a luxurious material, something like silk or satin. These are sort of a relic of a bygone era of, let's say, pearly heated houses. They're cozy, but they are elegant. They're meant for day wear indoors over your proper clothes. It is somewhat reminiscent of characters like Sherlock Holmes. That's what comes to my mind when I think of a dressing gown being worn indoors. Then we have the lounge gown, okay? Probably never heard of this one. Tends to be made of less luxurious materials and less adornment with styles and patterns. It's more practical in some sense because it will be warmer. It's probably made out of a wool material. This is probably what most of us have and what most of us refer to as a dressing gown. And I believe this is probably what Benoit's robe would qualify as. Then at the very end of the spectrum, we have the least stylish but the most practical. It's a bathrobe. As the name suggests, this is just for drying off, for wearing after a bath, keeps you warm, dries you off. It's going to be made of a towel-like material, and you'll probably have encountered these at hotels. And folks, I want to hear from you down in the comments below. Do you think Benoit's robe is a dressing gown or a lounge gown? Probably not a bathrobe, so it's either one or the other. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. So if Glass Onion shows Benoit Blanc adapting to heat and informality, then Wake Up Dead Man shows him returning to structure. In the most recent film, we're back in a more temperate climate, meaning Benoit is bringing the suit back, but it's not the same suit from the first film. In fact, his overall look is quite distinct, and that distinction tells us where Benoit is now, not just geographically, but stylistically. This time we've got a muted green tweed 3-piece suit with some academic, country, and professional DNA. Now what's interesting here is how restrained the pattern work is. The window pane check looks to be navy, and because the checks are more spaced out and the colour isn't such a high contrast with the green, it doesn't really fight for attention against the tie, for example. Instead, it complements it. Now let's talk about the ties for a moment. Once the suit gets heavier and more structured, the accessories have to respond. In the original film, we saw Benoit opt for thin knots like the 4 in hand, but this one, to me, looks more like a half Windsor, slightly chunkier tie knot, and that matches the larger collar of both the shirt and the broader lapels of the jacket. Now in the original film, Benoit's suit stayed the same, and each day his tie and pocket square were the items that changed. This time around, we actually do have 2 distinct outfits. You'd be forgiven for thinking that on day 2, all that changes is his tie, from a blue tie to a more reddish tie. But the suit changes too, and this is where the costume design becomes really, really deliberate. Notice the check is missing all of a sudden. It does look like the same suit, very similar colour, but the check is gone. And I suspect that this is intentional because the check was blue and it complemented the blue tie, but once we switch to the red tie, the check no longer really works, so we get rid of it. In terms of accessories, we have quite a few this time. Chunkier glasses, which definitely more fashion forward than the more refined professorial spectacles from Knives Out 1, but we've also got rather flamboyant trench coat and fedora outfit. Now, there's a difference here between analysing and adapting Benoit's look and copying it wholesale. So am I gonna recommend that you wear a trench coat and fedora in your daily life? No. Look, I'll be honest, nothing would give me greater pleasure than to wake up one day and find out that hats like the fedora have come back in style. And maybe someday, that day will come. But context matters, okay? At the moment, I reckon any attempt to wear one probably border on cosplay, not style or fashion. Now, if you disagree with me, sure, let me know down in the comments. That's just my personal opinion. The trench coat, however, it's possible to pull off. It's not exactly dead. You could definitely pull this off, but I'd say if you wore the trench coat and the fedora together, people will probably think you're a 1920s detective. But if that's what you're going for, fire away. The one accessory you could definitely make use of that is timeless yet rare is the stick pin. Okay, Benoit wears this on both of his ties on both days in Wake Up Dead Man. If you take only one practical detail from this look, I would make it the stick pin. You may have seen tie bars, which to me are a little bit more business attire than dark academia, so I would recommend do something a bit different. Go with the stick pin. You probably won't find these in stores wherever you live, unless you're near a particularly high fashion store. But maybe secondhand or online, you could pick one up. Gives the tie a bit of security, bit of movement too. It just adds a little something, a little bit of interest. Might start a conversation. So folks, what do you think? Are there other characters from popular fiction that you like, that you think fit or overlap a bit with the dark academia aesthetic, that you would like to see their style broken down and analysed, like what we do in these videos? Let me know down in the comments below. You never know, I might pick yours, I might make a video about it. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.